consists of many centers. So it is one of the centralization of the various centers. So most of the centers are located here. Okay, that's why it is one of the largest part of the human brain. And you can see number of foldings here. Convolute or highly convoluted because it has to accommodate itself within a limited space, that is within a cranial cavity. So as it has to accommodate itself within a limited space, so it is highly convoluted or highly folded. Okay. And the cerebrum, it consists of left and the right cerebral hemisphere. Okay, so it consists of left and the right cerebral hemisphere. And when you view it from above, so okay, when you view it from above, so along with both the lobes, so it assume an ovoid mass. Okay, so it assume an ovoid mass when you view it from above, so which is broad behind than the front. So this is the behind posterior part and this is the anterior part. So it is broad behind than the front when you view it from above. Then the cerebral hemisphere, two cerebral hemisphere, that is the left and the right. So this is the left cerebral hemisphere, this is the right. So the two cerebral hemispheres are incompletely separated by a fissure. So this is the fissure which is present in the midline. Okay, so this is the fissure which is present in the midline. So it connects the two cerebral hemisphere but incompletely. Okay, so this is known as the median longitudinal fissure. Okay, so it is known as the median longitudinal fissure. And in the recent state, this median longitudinal fissure is occupied by, or it lodges a sickle-shaped fold of dura mater, which is known as the falx cerebri. So here you can see, so this is the falx cerebri. Okay, so this is the falx cerebri which is present in this median longitudinal fissure, which connects the two cerebral hemisphere, but incomplete. Now coming to each lobe. Okay, so each cerebral hemisphere, it consists of outer gray matter. So outer is the gray matter, which is known as the cerebral cortex, and inner is the white matter. Okay, so this is the gray matter and this is the white matter. Gray matter, white matter. And there are also the large masses of gray matter which are embedded within the basal part of the white matter, and they are known as the basal ganglia. Okay, so it consists of outer gray, unlike the spinal cord. Okay, so outer is the gray matter and inner is the white matter. And as you know, each hemisphere, it consists of a cavity, so which is known as the lateral ventricle. Okay, so the cerebrum is highly extensive in man, so it is highly convoluted. You can see number of foldings here. It is highly convoluted because it has to accommodate itself within a limited space, that is within a cranial cavity. Okay, and there are two cerebral hemispheres, left and the right. So, and between these two cerebral hemispheres in the midline, you can see a fissure or a cleft which is known as the median longitudinal fissure. And within the median longitudinal fissure, you find the attachment of the falx cerebri. Now coming to the external features of the cerebral hemisphere. So it consists of lobes. So it consists of different lobes. Then it consists of poles. It consists of surfaces, then borders, sulci, and the gyri. Okay, so lobes, poles, surfaces, borders, sulci, and gyri. Now coming to the lobes. The lobes are named under the bones of the same name. Okay, so within the frontal bone lies the frontal lobe. So within the parietal bone lies the parietal lobe. Within the temporal lies the temporal lobe, and within the occipital bone lies the occipital lobe. And there is one more lobe which is buried deep in the lateral sulcus, which is known as the insular lobe. So mainly there are four: frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital. And you find one more lobe, that is the insular lobe, which is buried deep within the lateral sulcus. Now coming to the poles are usually the rounded part, okay, the rounded part of the brain. So they are the poles. So in the anterior part, in the frontal lobe, you'll find a frontal pole. Okay, now here this is the frontal pole. The rounded anterior part of the brain is the frontal pole. Now behind the rounded, the posterior part is the occipital pole. So frontal pole, which is present in the frontal lobe, the occipital pole, which is present in the occipital lobe, and this is the temporal lobe, and this is the temporal pole. So temporal pole lies below and in front. Okay. So this is the frontal, which lies in front, the occipital lies behind, and the temporal pole lies below and in front. Now coming to the surfaces. Okay. The cerebral hemisphere, each hemisphere consists of three surfaces. So they are the superolateral, medial, and the inferior surface. So superolateral, medial, and the inferior surface. Now coming to the superolateral surface, how do you identify the superolateral surface? Now you can see here the convex, the superolateral surface is the convex surface. So you can see the convexity. Okay. The superolateral surface is convex and it is highly folded upon itself. So it is you can see number of convolutions here. So these are known as the convolutions, and there are number of elevations, isn't it? And there are number of depressions. So elevations are known as the gyri, whereas the ridges or the depressions, so they are known as the sulci. And the superolateral surface is convex. So this is the superolateral surface. Now coming to the medial surface, the medial surface is flat. So if you take a sagittal section, then you can see the medial surface. So the medial surface is flat surface. And there is one more point to identify, because in the medial surface you can see an arched band of white matter. Now this is the arched band of white matter, which is known as the corpus callosum. Okay, now this is the corpus callosum. So the superolateral surface is convex, whereas the medial surface is flat. So this is flat, and you'll also find an arched band of white matter. So this is the arched band of white matter, which is known as the corpus callosum, and this is one of the important spotter question. Okay. So this is the corpus callosum. Now come to the different parts. You'll read this in another class, but I'll just tell you the parts of the corpus callosum. So from behind forward, okay, so from behind forward, so this is the splenium. Okay, so this is known as the splenium. The next is the trunk or the body. So this is known as the trunk or the body. Now this bend is the genu. So genu is the bend, and this part which lies in front of the genu, so this is known as the rostrum. So these are the different parts of the corpus callosum. So in the medial surface you'll find a corpus callosum. Now the another surface is the inferior surface. Now this is the inferior surface. So this whole part is the base of the brain. So if you take only this one hemisphere, so this is the inferior surface. So the inferior surface is irregular. Okay, so this is irregular, and it is further divided into two surfaces. Now this is the orbital surface which lies in front. Okay, so this is the orbital surface which lies in front, that is just below the frontal lobe. So this is the orbital surface, and behind, so this one is the tentorial surface. So inferior surface is irregular and is further divided into the orbital surface in front and the tentorial surface behind. Now this orbital and the tentorial surface, so these two surfaces are divided by a groove here, so which is known as the stem of the lateral sulcus. Now this is known as the stem of the lateral sulcus. Okay, so I hope it's clear now, the three surfaces. So how are you going to identify the surfaces? The one which is convex is the superolateral surface, and in the medial surface you'll find a corpus callosum, which is an arched band of white matter, and it is flat. And coming to the inferior surface, now this is the inferior surface which is irregular and is further divided into the orbital surface in front and the tentorial surface behind. So this is how you are going to identify the three different surfaces. Now coming to the borders, again there are three. There are superomedial border, inferomedial border, and the inferolateral border. Now the superomedial border. Okay, now this is the superomedial border. So the superomedial border, it separates the superolateral surface from the medial surface. Okay, so now this is the superomedial border. This is the superomedial border. Okay, that is towards the median longitudinal fissure. So this is the superomedial border. Now next is the inferolateral border. Now this, the one which lies laterally. So this is the inferolateral border, which also separates the superolateral surface from the inferior surface. So this is the inferolateral border. The next is the inferomedial border. Now this is the inferomedial border. Okay, so this is the inferomedial border, which again is further divided into the orbital border in front and the occipital border behind. And you can see it is interrupted in middle by the brainstem and the diencephalon. Okay, so this is the inferomedial border. So inferomedial, this is the inferolateral border, and this is the superomedial border. Okay, so these are the three surfaces and the three borders of the cerebral hemisphere. Now coming to the sulci and the gyri. So there are, you can see there are a number of elevations. So they are known as the gyri, and the regions, these grooves are known as the sulci. Okay. Now the sulci, again, it varies in depth. Okay, so the deeper grooves are known as the fissure. So if this sulcus is very deep, it is known as the fissure. So this is sulcus here. So the deeper grooves are known as the fissure. So you can find a longitudinal fissure here, or you may find transverse fissure within the brain. So usually the longitudinal fissure, it divides the two cerebral hemisphere like this. Okay, the longitudinal fissure divides the two cerebral hemisphere, whereas the transverse fissure here, it divides the cerebral hemisphere from the cerebellum. So there can be longitudinal fissure as well as the transverse fissure. Now coming to the important points, the main sulci of the cerebral hemisphere. Okay, so this is very important. The main sulci. So one of the important is the central sulcus, which is also known as the central sulcus of Rolando. Okay, and there is lateral sulcus, which is also known as the lateral sulcus of Sylvius. Then the calcarine sulcus, then the parieto-occipital sulcus, and the lunate sulcus. So all these are the important sulci. Okay. Now coming to the sulci and gyri, which are present in the superolateral surface. So as you know now that this is the superolateral surface, which is convex. So here you can see number of elevations and depressions. So there are so many sulci here and the gyri here. Now the most important sulcus in the superolateral surface is the central sulcus of Rolando. Okay, now how are you going to identify the central sulcus Rolando? Because here you are seeing number of sulci here. So which is the central sulcus? Now, the central sulcus of Rolando. Okay, the central sulcus of Rolando, it usually starts from the medial surface because it cuts the superomedial margin. So, where are you going to see the beginning of the central sulcus? That is in the superomedial margin. So, as you know, this is the superomedial border or the superomedial margin. So, it starts from the superomedial margin, and the point is slightly behind the midpoint of the frontal, and this is the frontal lobe, frontal pole, and this is the occipital pole. Now the beginning of the central sulcus lies at a point which is slightly behind the midpoint of the frontal and the occipital pole. Okay, so this is the beginning of the central sulcus. And another important point is it has to cut the superomedial border. Okay, so it starts from here, then it runs downward, forward, and laterally like this within the superolateral surface. So it runs downward, forward, and laterally. Now this is the central sulcus. And how does it end? Now this is the lateral sulcus. Okay, so this is the lateral sulcus here. So the central sulcus ends slightly above the posterior ramus of the lateral. So I'll be telling you this after this central sulcus. So this is known as the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Now the central sulcus ends slightly above the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Now this is the central sulcus, which is very important. Okay, examiner usually in spotters, we usually put flag over here. Okay, so identify the flag sulci will be the first question. So sulcus, so you should be able to identify the central sulcus. So what are the points to identify? First, it starts from a point which is slightly behind the midpoint of the frontal and the occipital pole. Another point is it has to cut the superomedial border. Then it runs, you have to trace it. It runs downward, forward, and laterally on the superolateral surface, and it ends slightly above the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Okay, so now this is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. So this is the central sulcus. And the next point is its type. So what type of sulcus is the central sulcus? So it is the limiting sulcus. Okay, so central sulcus is also known as the limiting sulcus because it separates the motor area from the sensory area. Now in this figure you can see, so this is the central sulcus here. Okay, this is the central sulcus. So it cuts the superior medial border slightly behind the midpoint of the frontal and the occipital pole, runs on the superior lateral surface downward, forward and laterally, ends slightly above the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Now the type is the limiting. Okay, so the limiting, it's the type of the central sulcus is the limiting sulcus because it limits the motor and the sensor area. So the area which lies in front of the central sulcus, so this area is motor in function. Okay, and this part of the brain which lies behind the central sulcus, so this is sensory in function. So this is one of the example of the limiting sulcus. So this is very important. Okay, now coming to next sulcus, that is known as the lateral sulcus of Sylvius. So central sulcus is also known as central sulcus of Rolando, and the lateral sulcus is known as lateral sulcus of Sylvius. Now in this figure you can see, so this is the lateral sulcus. Okay, so this is the lateral sulcus here, and the lateral sulcus has a stem and 3 rami. Okay, so it has a stem and a 3 rami. Now I think I have explained it earlier also. The stem is the stem of the lateral sulcus. It separates the orbital surface from the tentorial surface. Okay, so it lies on the inferior surface. So this is the inferior surface of the cerebral hemisphere. So this is the orbital part and this is the tentorial part. Okay, now this is the stem of the lateral sulcus which is present on the inferior surface. Okay, now coming to its 3 rami. So the 3 rami are the anterior horizontal, or you can see just anterior, ascending and the posterior. Okay, now all of you see this figure A, B and C. Now this is the anterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Okay, this is the anterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Now this is the ascending ramus of the lateral sulcus, and this is known as the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Okay, so it has a stem. The stem lies on the inferior surface and it has got 3 rami. Now this is the anterior ramus. This is the ascending ramus and this is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Okay, now the anterior and the ascending, it measures around 2.5 centimeter, whereas the posterior is quite long, so it measures 7.5 centimeter. Now in this figure you can see, okay, so this is the anterior ramus. This is the anterior ramus of lateral sulcus. This is the ascending ramus of the lateral sulcus, and this is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Okay, now you should know the area which lies below the ramus. Now this part of the cerebrum, see this part which lies below the anterior ramus, so this is known as pars orbitalis. Okay, so this is pars orbitalis. And this triangular area which is between the anterior and the ascending ramus of the lateral sulcus. Now this area is known as the pars triangularis. Okay, so this is pars triangularis, and the area which lies behind the ascending, all this part, and it lies above the posterior ramus. So this is known as the pars posterior. So you should know this area also. Okay, all these are must know points. Okay, you should be able to identify the central sulcus. You should be able to identify the lateral sulcus, and you should know its parts, that is the stem and the 3 rami, the anterior, ascending and the posterior. The part which lies below the anterior ramus is known as the pars orbitalis. So the part between the anterior and the ascending rami, so this is known as the pars triangularis, and this part is known as the pars posterior, that is between the ascending and the, this is the upturned end of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Now this is the pars posterior. Now coming to another sulcus, that is known as the parieto-occipital sulcus. Okay, now this parieto-occipital sulcus, so this is the parieto-occipital sulcus in the superior lateral surface. So this parieto-occipital sulcus is very small. It is very small in the superior lateral surface, and it is in the superior lateral surface. So this is the parietal occipital sulcus. It is very small here, but it is more prominent in the medial surface. So this is the medial surface. So this is the parietal occipital sulcus here in the medial surface. Okay. Now the parietal occipital sulcus also cuts the superior medial border here, around 5 centimeter in front of the occipital pole. Now, how are you going to identify the parietal occipital sulcus? Because it lies 5 centimeter in front of the occipital pole, and it also cuts the superomedial margin. So this is the parietal occipital sulcus here. Okay, it only runs for some distance in the superolateral surface, but here in the medial surface you can see this whole sulcus is the parietal occipital. So it is well marked in the medial surface. Okay. Now here you can see the gyrus surrounding the parietal occipital sulcus in the superolateral surface. So this is known as the arcus parieto occipitalis. Okay. So this area is the arcus parieto occipitalis. And there is one more point which you have to remember is the pre-occipital notch. Now this is the occipital pole here. Now 5 centimeter in front of the occipital pole, but in the superolateral margin. So this is the superolateral margin or the superolateral border. So 5 centimeter in front of the occipital pole, here is a notch which is known as the pre-occipital notch. Okay, so all these are the important points. So I'll just tell you again. So what you have to remember is the central sulcus of Rolando. Okay, this is the central sulcus of Rolando. Next is the lateral sulcus. So you should know this is the lateral sulcus which has a stem that is present on the inferior surface, and the three rami, the anterior. So this is the anterior, this is the ascending, and this is the posterior. The area below the anterior, so this is pars orbitalis, this is pars triangularis, and this is pars posterior. Okay. Now there is one more sulcus, that is the parietal occipital sulcus, which only runs for a small distance in the superolateral surface. And where do you find? It lies 5 centimeter in front of the occipital pole. And the gyrus surrounding it is known as the arcus parieto occipitalis. Okay. Now in the inferolateral border, here you can find a notch which is 5 centimeter in front of the occipital pole, again, which is known as the pre-occipital notch. Okay. Now all this, the central sulcus, okay, so this is the central sulcus here, then the lateral sulcus, then the parietal occipital sulcus, and the pre-occipital notch. So they divide the superolateral surface into 5 different lobes. Okay, so central sulcus, the lateral sulcus, the parietal occipital sulcus, and the pre-occipital notch. So they divide the superolateral surface into 5 lobes. So what are the 5 lobes? They are the frontal, parietal, temporal, occipital, and the insular. Okay, now coming to the frontal lobe. Now how are you going to differentiate the lobes? So the frontal lobe lies in front of the central sulcus. Now this is the central sulcus, isn't it? So this is the central sulcus. So this is the frontal lobe, because the frontal lobe lies in front of the central sulcus and above the lateral sulcus. So this whole lobe is the frontal lobe. Okay, so that's why I told you all those sulci are important, because without knowing them, you won't be able to differentiate the different lobes. Okay. So this is the frontal lobe. Now coming to the parietal lobe. So this is the parietal lobe here, because the parietal lobe is bounded in front by the central sulcus. Okay, it is bounded in front by the central sulcus. Then it is bounded above by the superomedial border here. Superomedial border. Then it is bounded behind by the parieto occipital sulcus. So here you have the parieto occipital sulcus, and you have to draw one imaginary line from the parieto occipital sulcus to the pre-occipital notch. Or first you see in this figure, it will be clear. Okay, so this is the parieto occipital sulcus here. So from here you draw one imaginary line up to the pre-occipital notch like this. Okay, and so this is the parietal lobe, which is bounded in front by the central sulcus. This is in front, above by the superomedial border. Okay, so behind by the parieto occipital notch and the imaginary line, and below it is bounded by the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus and again a line joining the parieto occipital sulcus. Now this is the parietal lobe. Okay, so the one which lies in front of the central sulcus is the frontal lobe, and the lobe which lies behind the central sulcus, so this is the parietal lobe. So next is the occipital lobe. Now this is the occipital lobe. Okay, so the occipital lobe lies behind the parieto-occipital sulcus, and a line or the imaginary line which joins the parieto-occipital sulcus from the pre-occipital notch. So this is the occipital lobe. Okay, so that's why to differentiate these different lobes of the cerebral hemisphere, you should know this sulci very well. Okay, so you should know the central sulcus, you should know the parieto-occipital sulcus, because it differentiates the parietal lobe from the occipital lobe. Now come to the temporal. Now this is the temporal lobe. So the temporal lobe is limited above by the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Now this is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, and a line which also extends up to the imaginary line from the parieto-occipital sulcus to the pre-occipital notch. Okay, so below it is limited by the, so this is the inferolateral border. Now this is the temporal lobe. Okay, so this is how you are going to differentiate the different lobes. Now coming to the insular lobe. So insular lobe is hidden. You cannot see it from outside. It is hidden. Okay, so you have to separate the stem and the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus like this to see the insular lobe. So this is the insular lobe here. So it is submerged. Okay, it is pyramidal shaped cortex, and it is submerged. So you have to separate the stem as well as the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus to view the insular lobe. It is hidden. Okay, so this is the frontal, the parietal, the occipital, and the temporal lobe. I hope it's clear now. So frontal, parietal, temporal, and the occipital. So you should be able to identify the central sulcus, the parieto-occipital sulcus, the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus here. Now coming to the frontal lobe. Now you know the area or the boundaries of the frontal lobe. Okay, now coming to each lobe separately. Okay, now coming to the frontal lobe. So this is the frontal lobe. The one which lies in front of the central sulcus is the frontal lobe. Now within the frontal lobe there are four important gyri, and these gyri are separated by the sulci. So as you know, the gyrus, the elevated part is the gyrus here, and these ridges are the sulci. Okay, now another important sulcus in the frontal lobe is the precentral sulcus. Okay, so for this also, first you have to identify the central sulcus. Now within the frontal lobe you can find another sulcus which runs in front and parallel to the central sulcus. Now this is the one. So the sulcus which runs in front and parallel to the central sulcus is known as the precentral sulcus. Okay, so this is the precentral sulcus, this one. And the gyrus which is between the precentral sulcus and the central sulcus, so this gyrus is known as the precentral gyrus. Okay, so this is the precentral sulcus and this is the precentral gyrus. Okay, and this is motor in function now, because the area which lies in front of the central sulcus itself is the motor area. So this is motor in function. Okay, now coming to another sulci. Now here within the frontal lobe you find two another sulci here which runs from anterior to posterior direction. Okay, now this is the superior frontal sulcus from anterior to posterior. Okay, so this is the superior frontal sulcus here, and this is the inferior frontal sulcus. This is the inferior frontal sulcus. So this is inferior and this is superior. Now the superior and the inferior frontal sulci, they divide the frontal lobe into the superior, middle, and the inferior frontal gyrus. Okay, so this is the superior frontal gyrus. So this is the middle frontal gyrus, and this is the inferior frontal gyrus. All these areas you should know. I'm telling the must know points. You must know points now. So frontal lobe, what are the different sulci? So you should know the precentral sulcus. So how are you going to identify the precentral sulcus? Because it runs in front and parallel to the central sulcus. Now the gyrus between the central and the precentral sulci. So this is known as the precentral gyrus, which is motor in function. Now here you see another two important sulci which runs from anterior to posterior direction. So that is the superior frontal sulcus here, and this is the inferior frontal sulcus. So they divide the frontal lobe into the superior frontal gyrus. This is middle frontal gyrus, and this is inferior frontal gyrus. So when you come for practical, you read all these and come, because as soon as you come for the demo class, so you should be able to identify your sabai. Now coming to the parietal lobe, Baba. Now you know which is the parietal lobe. So this is the parietal lobe which lies behind the central sulcus. Now in the parietal lobe also you find uh, two important sulci. So first is the post-central sulcus. So post-central sulcus runs behind and parallel to the central sulcus. Now this is the post-central sulcus. Okay. Now the area between the central and the post-central sulcus, so this is known as the post-central gyrus. Now as it lies, this gyrus lies behind the central sulcus. So this is sensory in function. Okay. So this is sensory in function. So this is the post-central gyrus. Okay. Now the another important sulci is, see, nearly from the middle of the post-central sulcus, you can see one sulcus running from anterior to posterior direction. This is known as the intraparietal sulcus. Okay, so this is the intraparietal sulcus, and this intraparietal sulcus separates the parietal lobe from into the superior parietal lobule. So this is superior parietal lobule, and this is inferior parietal lobule. Okay, so the post-central sulcus. This is the post-central sulcus. So this is the post-central gyrus, sensory in function. From the middle of the post-central sulcus, you can see another sulcus which is running from anterior to posterior direction. So this is known as the intraparietal sulcus, which divides the parietal lobe into two parts. So this is known as the superior parietal lobule, and below the sulcus, this is known as the inferior parietal lobule. Okay. Now next is the coming to the inferior parietal lobule. Now this is the inferior parietal lobule. Now within the inferior parietal lobule, here you can see two arched gyri. So here you can see this is the one. So this area is the inferior parietal lobule. Within the inferior parietal lobule, there are two arched gyrus. So this is known as the supramarginal gyrus, and this is known as the angular gyrus. Okay, supramarginal and angular. You should be familiar with all these names, because in next class I'll be telling you the function and the functional cortex and the Brodmann's area. So all these gyrus will be given the numbers, Brodmann's number. So be familiar with all these terminologies. Now coming to the temporal lobe now. So this is the temporal lobe. So within the temporal lobe, we find the two sulcus here. So this is this one. Okay, so this is known as the superior temporal sulcus, and it runs parallel with the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. As you know, this is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, and this is the superior temporal sulcus. And below it, there is one more sulcus which is known as the inferior temporal sulcus. So superior temporal sulcus here, the inferior temporal sulcus. So they divide the temporal lobe into superior, middle, and the inferior temporal gyri. Okay. So this is known as the superior temporal gyrus, which lies above the superior temporal sulcus. Now between the superior temporal sulcus and inferior temporal sulcus, so this area is known as the middle temporal gyrus, and the one which lies below the inferior temporal sulcus, so this is known as the inferior temporal gyrus. Okay, this is in the temporal lobe. And next coming to the occipital lobe. Now this is the occipital lobe. So within the occipital lobe, you know, so this is the parieto-occipital sulcus. You all know parieto-occipital sulcus here. So which demarcates the parietal lobe from the occipital lobe. And just behind the parieto-occipital, just behind the parieto-occipital sulcus, you can see one more sulcus. Okay, so that is known as the transverse occipital sulcus. Okay, so the transverse occipital sulcus lies just behind the parieto-occipital sulcus, and it also cuts the superomedial margin. Okay, this is the transverse occipital sulcus. An important sulcus in the occipital lobe is the lunate sulcus. So this is the lunate sulcus. Okay, with the convexity facing laterally. So this is the lunate sulcus. Okay, and there is one more, that is the lateral occipital sulcus here, which is running transversely. So this is the lateral occipital sulcus, which divides the occipital lobe into the superior and the inferior occipital gyri. Okay, so this was the important sulci and the gyri here. So I'll just tell you in this figure. So this is just to revise. Okay, so this is the central sulcus. So this is the precentral sulcus. So the gyrus between the central and the precentral sulcus. So this is the precentral gyrus. Okay. Now this is the superior frontal sulcus and this is the inferior frontal sulcus, which divides the frontal lobe into superior frontal gyrus, middle frontal gyrus, and the inferior frontal gyrus. Okay. Now this is the lateral sulcus, which has a stem. Stem lies on the inferior surface and it has got 3 rami. So this is the anterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. So this is the ascending ramus and this is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Okay. Now within the inferior frontal gyrus, so this is the inferior frontal gyrus, the area which lies below the anterior ramus. So this is known as pars orbitalis. Now this triangular area between the anterior and the ascending rami, so this is known as the pars triangularis, and this area which lies above the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, so this is known as the pars posterior. Okay. Now coming to the parietal lobe. Now this is the parietal lobe. Okay. Now within the parietal lobe there is a post-central sulcus. So this is the post-central sulcus which lies behind and parallel to the central sulcus. And this gyrus between the post-central sulcus and the central sulcus is known as the post-central gyrus. So this is sensory in function. Okay, so this is sensory in function. Now nearly from the middle of the post-central gyrus, one more sulcus arises. Okay, this is known as the intraparietal sulcus, which divides the parietal lobe into superior parietal lobule and the inferior parietal lobule. So this is the inferior parietal lobule. Now within the inferior parietal lobule, here you will find the 2 arched gyri. So this is known as the supramarginal gyrus and this is known as the angular gyrus. Okay. Now coming to the occipital lobe. Now this is the occipital lobe which lies behind the parieto-occipital sulcus. Now nearly just behind the parieto-occipital sulcus arises the transverse occipital sulcus here, which also causes the superior middle margin here. Okay, this is the transverse occipital sulcus here, and another important sulcus here is the lunate sulcus. Now this is the lunate sulcus. Its convexity usually faces towards the lateral side. So this is the lunate sulcus, and this is the lateral occipital sulcus, which divides the occipital lobe into superior and the inferior occipital gyrus. Okay, now coming to the temporal lobe here. So this is the temporal lobe. So here you can see the superior temporal gyrus and the inferior temporal gyrus, which divides it into superior temporal sulcus. This is the inferior temporal sulcus, which divides the temporal lobe into superior, middle, and the inferior temporal gyri. So these are the important sulci and gyri in the superolateral surface. Okay, now let's stay in the medial surface. Now coming to the medial surface. So this is the medial surface. So it is flat surface and you'll also find a corpus callosum here. So this is the corpus callosum here. Okay. Now just above the corpus callosum there is a sulcus here. So which is known as the callosal sulcus. Okay. So this is the callosal sulcus here. So this is the callosal sulcus which just lies above the corpus callosum. Okay. Now there is one important sulcus in the medial surface which is known as the cingulate sulcus. So this is the cingulate sulcus. Okay. Now this cingulate sulcus divides the medial surface into the inner part. So this is the inner part and this is the outer part. Cost mic on. Okay, the cingulate sulcus divides the medial surface into the outer part and the inner part. Now the inner part is known as the cingulate gyrus. Now this is the cingulate gyrus. Okay, the inner part. So this is the cingulate gyrus. Now come to the outer. In the outer part there is a vertical sulcus. This is the vertical sulcus which arises from the middle of the cingulate sulcus. Now this vertical sulcus divides the outer part into the anterior part and the posterior part. Okay, so this is the anterior part which is quite large. Now this anterior part is known as the medial frontal gyrus. So this is the medial frontal gyrus and the posterior part is known as the paracentral lobule. So all these are very important, right? So corpus callosum, So this is the callosal sulcus. Okay, now the sulcus which are parallel to the corpus callosum. So this is known as the cingulate sulcus. Now this cingulate sulcus divides the medial surface into the outer part. This is the outer part and the inner part. The inner part is known as the cingulate gyrus, whereas the outer part, you find one more vertical sulcus here, which divides it into anterior and the posterior part. The anterior part is known as the medial frontal gyrus. The anterior part is known as the medial frontal gyrus, and the posterior part is known as the paracentral lobule. Now, this is the paracentral lobule. And this paracentral lobule is very important because, see here, you can see here, now this is the central sulcus here. Okay, this is the central sulcus. So the area which lies in front of the central sulcus, so this part is motor in function, and behind the central sulcus, this part is sensory in function. Okay, so the paracentral lobule, it contains the motor cortex as well as some part of the sensory cortex. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, so callosal sulcus, cingulate gyrus, cingulate sulcus here. So this is the vertical sulcus. So this is the medial frontal gyrus, and this is the paracentral lobule. And the paracentral lobule, it contains motor area as well as the sensory area. Okay, this I have already explained. Now behind the corpus callosum, there are two important sulci. So this is the parieto-occipital sulcus, which I have told as it is very well demarcated in the medial surface. So this is the parieto-occipital sulcus. Okay, so this parieto-occipital sulcus, it means another sulcus here, so which is known as the calcarine sulcus. Now this is the calcarine sulcus. So all these are spot questions. So we can put flag over corpus callosum, cingulate gyrus, cingulate sulcus, and ismaraki medial frontal gyrus, or paracentral lobule. So this is the parieto-occipital sulcus, which meets the calcarine sulcus. Now this is the calcarine sulcus, which is in the occipital lobe. So this is the calcarine sulcus here. Now the area, so the triangular area between the parieto-occipital sulcus and the calcarine sulcus. Now this area is known as the cuneus. Okay, so this area is known as the cuneus, and the area, the cortex which lies below the calcarine sulcus, so this is known as the lingual gyrus. Okay, so this is cuneus, so this is known as the lingual gyrus. And the quadrilateral area, so this is the quadrilateral area which lies above the cuneus, so this is known as the precuneus. Okay, so this is precuneus, this is cuneus, which is triangular, and below the cuneus is the lingual gyrus. I repeat it again. So this is the medial surface, which is flat. Here you find the corpus callosum. So just above the corpus callosum, the sulcus is known as the callosal sulcus. Okay. Now the important sulcus which you find here is the cingulate sulcus in the medial surface. So this is the cingulate sulcus, which divides the medial surface into the inner part, which is known as the cingulate gyrus, and the outer part. Now the outer part is further divided into anterior and the posterior part by a vertical sulcus. Now this is the vertical sulcus here. So the anterior part is known as the medial frontal gyrus, and the posterior part is known as the paracentral lobule. Now within the paracentral lobule, you'll also find the central sulcus here because it comes till here. So it contains motor area as well as the sensory area. Okay, so paracentral lobule, this is the paracentral lobule which contains motor as well as the sensory area. Now the another important sulci here are the parieto-occipital sulcus. Now this is the parieto-occipital sulcus here. Parieto-occipital sulcus. This is the calcarine sulcus. Now the triangular area between these two sulci is the cuneus. Okay. Now in front of the cuneus, this quadrangular area is the precuneus, and below the cuneus, so this area is the lingual gyrus. So all these are the different sulci and gyri in the medial surface. Now coming to inferior surface. Okay, so this is the inferior surface, as you know, which is further divided into The orbital. This is the orbital surface in front, and behind is the tentorial surface, and these two surfaces are separated by the stem of the lateral sulcus. So this is the stem of the lateral sulcus. Okay. Now within the orbital surface, you will find one sulcus here. So this is known as the olfactory sulcus. So this is the orbital surface, and this is the olfactory sulcus, which is towards the midline. Okay, you start to trace from the midline, so you won't get confused. So this is the olfactory sulcus. Now this olfactory sulcus, it lodges the olfactory bulb. So this is the olfactory bulb here, and this is the olfactory tract. Okay, so olfactory sulcus near the midline, which lodges the olfactory bulb, and this is the bulb, and this is the olfactory tract. And lateral to this, you'll find a H-shaped sulci. So you can see here the H-shaped sulci, which divides the orbital surface into anterior, posterior, medial, and the lateral orbital gyri. Okay, so this is H-shaped sulcus, which divides it into, so this is the anterior, this is posterior, medial to it is medial, and lateral to it is lateral orbital gyrus. Okay, so this is the orbital surface. Next, coming to the tentorial. Then this is the tentorial surface here. So in the tentorial surface also, you can see two sulci running anterior posteriorly. So towards the midline. So this is known as the collateral sulcus. So this is the collateral sulcus, and this is the occipitotemporal sulcus. Okay, this is collateral sulcus, middle one, and the lateral one is the occipitotemporal sulcus. Now, the area medial to the collateral sulcus, so this is known as the parahippocampal gyrus. Okay, this is known as the parahippocampal gyrus, and if you trace it in front, the parahippocampal continues with the uncus. So this is uncus here. So this is the parahippocampal gyrus. Okay, so this is the collateral sulcus here, and this is the occipitotemporal sulcus. Now, the occipitotemporal sulcus divides the rest of the tentorial surface into the medial occipitotemporal gyrus, and this is the lateral occipitotemporal gyrus. Okay, so I repeat it again, inferior surface. So inferior surface is further divided into the orbital in front and the tentorial behind. Now coming to the sulci and gyri here. So near the midline, there is a olfactory sulcus. So this is the olfactory sulcus, which lodges the olfactory bulb and the olfactory tract. Then there is another H-shaped sulci here, which divides the orbital surface into anterior, posterior, medial, and the lateral orbital gyri. Okay, now coming to the tentorial surface, towards the midline, there is a collateral sulcus here. So this is the collateral sulcus here, and this is the occipitotemporal sulcus. Okay, collateral and the occipitotemporal sulcus. Now the gyrus, which lies medial to the collateral sulcus. So this is known as the parahippocampal gyrus here. So if you trace the parahippocampal gyrus in front, so this area is the uncus. So uncus, parahippocampal gyrus, and medial to the occipitotemporal gyrus. So this gyrus is the medial occipitotemporal gyrus, and this is the lateral occipitotemporal gyrus. So these are the different sulci and gyri in the inferior surface. Okay. So olfactory, so this is H-shaped, so this is collateral, this is parahippocampal gyrus, so this is uncus, this is occipitotemporal sulcus, so medial occipitotemporal gyrus, and this is the lateral occipitotemporal gyrus, and this is the base of the brain, so also known as the inferior surface or the base of the brain. So what are the structures you see here in the base of the brain? So here you can see a pair of olfactory bulb here, olfactory tract, and this is optic chiasma. So these two are the optic tracts here. So this is the interpeduncular fossa. Okay, so this is the interpeduncular fossa here. And here you'll find this artery, circle of Willis. Circle of Willis, you'll find it here. So these are the structures which you find it in the base of the brain. Okay, so this is the closed view. So this is the interpeduncular fossa. So anteriorly it is bounded by the optic chiasma. So this is the optic chiasma here. Posteriorly it is bounded by the pons. So this is the pons here. This is the upper border of the pons here. So anterolaterally it is bounded by the optic tract. So this is optic tract on either side anterolaterally. And posterolaterally, these two are the cross cerebri. Basis peduncle are the cross cerebri here. So this is the floor. So the structures which you find in the floor of the interpeduncular fossa, so they are the tuber cinerem. This is the tuber cinerem, pair of mammillary bodies, the posterior perforated substance. So here this part is surrounded by the circle of the Willis. So this completes the cerebral hemisphere, the external features, and the different sulci and the gyri of the cerebrum. Okay, in the next class, I'll continue with this functional areas.